Hi, Dan here. We're going to go over how to calculate your mash efficiency and brewhouse efficiency in Beersmith 2.2 and also how to dial in your recipes in Beersmith 2.2. Most of this information was gathered by Bert Bros off of the Beersmith.com forums. I'll put a link to that thread. There's a lot more information, a lot more detailed information. You might want to check it out. Now, first of all, we need to define a couple things. What is mash efficiency and what is brewhouse efficiency? Mash efficiency is the percentage of sugars that was extracted out of our grain bill, out of the total sugars available. You take a pre-boil volume measurement, a pre-boil gravity, and you use a calculation to calculate your mash efficiency. I won't go over the calculation here because we're going to let Beersmith do that for us. What is brewhouse efficiency? Brewhouse efficiency is mash efficiency plus all of the loss to your fermenter dead space, your boil kettle dead space, your boil off, adding any water after the boil. It's your total efficiency for your system all the way up until the wort goes into the fermenter. Now, why is brewhouse efficiency important? Well, because in Beersmith 2.2, everything is based off of brewhouse efficiency. All of your recipe design is based off of brewhouse efficiency. So let's get started. The first thing you have to do is create an equipment profile. Equipment profiles are very important in Beersmith. They are the building blocks to doing everything in Beersmith, really. So what we're going to do is click on Profiles, Equipment, and we're going to add a new equipment. Now, for the sake of this video, or this example, we'll say we have a 10-gallon cooler mash tun. We'll say that the dead space, we poured some water in that mash tun, and we drained it out, and then we measured the dead space of the water. Let's say we've got a quarter gallon there. We'll go ahead and adjust the mash volume for the dead space. We don't know what our brewhouse efficiency is yet. Some of this other stuff we won't go over. We'll say we have 1 gallon of boil off per hour, and also when it comes to the loss to trub and chiller, we'll say we have a nice little dip tube there. We don't have much loss, but we got a little bit. We'll say it's 0.1 there. We'll say that our batch volume is 5 gallons, and press OK. So we now have a new equipment profile. We are now ready to go into our recipe that we downloaded or imported into Beersmith. You can see that it is using the other author's equipment list. We don't want to use that. They have a different batch size, different efficiencies, although we don't know ours yet. So what we do is we click on Scale Recipe. Click the drop-down menu, select our equipment, press OK. You'll see that the batch size will be scaled down slightly using the efficiency that we've had listed, which is 72. By default, you want to keep match the original gravity, color, and bitterness selected so that all of those values stay the same. Press OK, and you'll see that our values are scaled down a little bit for our equipment. It's now time to brew our beer. So on brew day, you'll collect your pre-boil volume and your pre-boil gravity reading using a hydrometer or a refractometer. With those two numbers, you'll click on the Mash tab, and you notice over here we have estimated mash efficiency and measured mash efficiency. Neither one of them are editable. These are actually calculated by Beersmith 2. So we'll put in our measured pre-boil volume. We'll say we got a volume of 5.5, and we'll say we got 6 gallons. We'll say our measured pre-boil gravity was a little bit higher. Say it was 1080. We have now figured out our actual measured mash efficiency. Beersmith has calculated the mash efficiency we got on this brew day, 80.9. You notice estimated mash efficiency hasn't changed. That's actually based on the brewhouse efficiency in our equipment profile. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a technique to match these two numbers up, and when we do that, we'll figure out our brewhouse efficiency. It's actually quite simple. Click on the Design tab, click on the red checkbox next to the equipment, and we are back in our equipment profile. What we're going to do is we're going to fiddle with this number raising it up or down, and until those two numbers, the mash efficiency, the estimated mash efficiency and the measured mash efficiency, match. So we're going to start with say 76. Press OK. We'll go back to the mash tab. 77.8, 80.9, not quite there yet. We'll go back to design. Click on the red checkbox. Raise it back up a little bit, 78. Let's try that. Back to the mash tab, 79 point, we're about 1% off. Let's see if we can get it here, 79% maybe. Okay, 80.8, 80.9, pretty close. We could try messing with it to get a little bit closer, but we've now figured out our brew house efficiency for our system, at least for this particular brew. Sometimes it will change if your process changes or your equipment changes. You're going to want to keep your process as steady as possible. The idea is to keep both your mash efficiency and your brew house efficiency as steady as possible for recipe design. So at this point we have our brew house efficiency set up for this particular recipe. Now the way Beersmith works is it actually copies the equipment profile, the master equipment profile, down to each recipe when you set it. So if we go back into our profiles and we open this profile back up, you can see the brew house efficiency has not changed yet. We're actually going to need to update that. So we go back into our recipe. We figured out our brew house efficiency was 79. Go into our equipment and update that to 79. Now at this point we can scale any other recipe to match our equipment and our brew house efficiency. Let's say we download or import another recipe, double click on it, click scale recipe, select your equipment. You can see it's already scaled down to 5-gallon batch, 79% brew house efficiency. Make sure this is checked. Press OK. And you can see that our grain bill has been scaled down, while all of our numbers, gravity, IBU, color, all that remains the same. Now, you may have to do this a few times over a few different brew days until you get your process dialed in. I hope that this has been helpful in helping you track your mash efficiency and your brew house efficiency and dialing in your recipes in Beersmith 2.2. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful week.